Hey guys, Welsknight here, and welcome back to another episode of Kingdoms. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I'm having a great day, and I want to start off today with a little bit of a chat. I want to have a little bit of a chat. It's not going to be a full-on Talky episode, but I'm going to talk for a little while at the beginning here. And while we're doing that, I figured we'd do a little bit of branch mining together, because I am kind of low on resources, and we don't really branch mine on camera like ever. So let's do a little bit of mining together while I talk about a few things. So basically, to make a very long story short, videos are going... Wow, what a start. Diamonds right off the bat. Very nice. To make a very long story short, videos are going to be a little bit light this week and next week, maybe. It is possible that everything will go amazingly according to plan and that I will actually still have 2 videos a day every day. But it's kind of unlikely, and let me explain why. So, as some of you know, and as I've talked about in other videos, including a relatively recent Hermitcraft video, I am a member of the U.S. Army. I work in military law. I am a paralegal and court reporter, and although my military career is almost over, and at this point, I am a National Guard soldier that, for the most part, doesn't really have a whole lot of full-time obligations, I do still have some obligations here and there. And I'm actually in the middle of one of those obligations right now. I am actually working on what will probably be the final case of my career and the last assignment of my career, and quite possibly the last time I will have to put on a military uniform ever again in my entire life. However, what that case is, I'm actually working on like a homicide case right now, a big, very big premeditated murder case. And yeah, it's very time consuming. It's going to take me a couple weeks to get the whole thing finished. But it's also, you know, one of those things. It's part of my job. And for those of you who don't know, basically a court reporter, which is what I do, is someone who essentially creates a record of a trial. So a trial happens, and then it's the court reporter's job to basically produce like a transcript, a big record of everything that was said in the courtroom and everything that was done in the courtroom and all of the evidence and all that kind of stuff. So it's like my job to basically create like a script, right? Kind of like a document that says, you know, the judge said this, and the witnesses said this, and this was the evidence that was presented, and it's all like word for word, verbatim, and it sounds kind of boring, but it's something that I enjoy. But anyway, I'm working on this case, and it's a special, like, temporary assignment where they're basically, where they've put me on orders specifically for this one case, and I have a tiny amount of time that I still needed to fill before I am essentially done with my military career, and they said, we need someone who has your skill set. So it was just kind of a perfect match where they decided to bring me on just for this one case, and, you know, then it's good to go. And as I said, it's a homicide case. It's a premeditated murder case. And I'm before anyone says something like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, like, don't be. I actually enjoy working cases like this, not because I'm not saying it's, you know, it's good what happened or anything like that. It's horrible what happened. Anytime you have something like that go on, it's horrific and awful. But first of all, like, I've been doing this job long enough that I'm kind of desensitized to it, like, which is kind of a horrible thing in and of itself, but it doesn't bother me on like a psychological level or anything like that. You just, when you do what I have done for the last 10 years, you just kind of hit a point where it doesn't bother you in that way. You don't think about it, and you're not like horrified. You're just desensitized to it, and you're like, man, how could people do this? This is messed up, but like I don't lose sleep at night or anything like that. But the cool thing about it is that, like, because it's such a big case and a high profile case, like, it's very exciting. It's very thrilling to work cases like that. It's kind of like hard to explain that to someone who hasn't done it, or who especially like to someone who hasn't worked in the legal field. I mean, I can't really think of like a good analogy either, because you'd think, man, why would I want to do that? But I guess just think of it as like a lot of what I do in my job is really dry and really boring and very dull. And big cases are the polar opposite of that. And it's very stressful, and it's a lot of work, and there's like a million things going on at once and stuff like that. But I am very much in my element in a high stress, high tempo environment. Like that's honestly in many ways where I feel most comfortable when it comes to work. Like I enjoy working in an environment where there are tons of moving pieces and there's very strict deadlines and like, high stress, high tempo, and lots of things going on. Like I'm very much in my element when that's going on. And when that's the situation, and big cases are very much like that, and it's cool to be part of the justice system that makes sure that people who do horrific things are, put behind bars. Like that's a cool feeling to be part of that system and to see the system work and to see justice be done. Like it's cool in that sense. It's not cool, what the guy did. And I'm not going to go into the details of the case because frankly, it's dark and it's messed up and kind of gruesome. And this is not the place for it. Especially knowing that some of the people who watch my videos are younger and you don't need that negativity in your lives. Let's just put it that way. But basically it's it's an interesting case, but it's a case that is going to consume, the majority of my attention for roughly like the next week and a half, maybe 2 weeks at the most, something like that. And then after that, I'm pretty much done with the Army. At that point, the only thing that I will have left to do is basically sign some paperwork that says like, congratulations, thanks for your service, now get out of here. So this is, and that I probably won't even have to wear a uniform for it. I'll just be like, show up at the office and sign this paperwork, or maybe they'll even email it to me. I don't know. But, the point is, this is kind of my last huzzah, so to speak. This is like it's interesting because it's, I kind of look at it as like really ending my career on a high note. I can count on one hand the number of homicide cases that I've worked over the roughly decade that I've been in the military, and this is, they don't come along very often, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's kind of, it's an interesting opportunity, and it's always an interesting experience. And it's something that I'll look back on and remember doing. I will remember this case for years to come, just because it's not something that, it's not an everyday thing, and thankfully it's not an everyday thing, because that would be horrible if it was. But it's just one of those things where it's something I got to do, and it is probably going to interfere a little bit with my video creating time over the next couple weeks. Now, with that said, the Army does not work on federal holidays, and this is a federal holiday weekend. I believe this Monday is like Columbus Day or something, one of those obscure federal holidays. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and you're seeing this on Saturday, is a 4-day weekend for me. So I'm hoping to basically record like all the things over these next couple of days, and still be able to have 2 videos a day coming out on both my main channel and my second channel. That's what I'm hoping. The second channel videos are pretty much already recorded because there's like no real planning or resource gathering or anything like that needs to be done. Those videos I can pump out like you wouldn't believe. I can record like 20 of those videos in a day, or more. But the Minecraft videos definitely take a little bit longer just because there's a lot more that goes into them. It's not there's very often a lot of cuts and let me build this wall and let me do this and let me do that and I'll be back in a minute and stuff like that. And that's fine. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it just means that it takes a little bit longer to make the Minecraft videos. There's certainly, I will freely admit, I put a lot more effort into my Minecraft videos than my second channel videos, because second channel videos, the types of games I play there, sit down, hit record for 30 minutes, thanks for watching. That's basically how those go. Because it's those types of games. Like, it's games where you really don't want to cut stuff out. Because then the people who watching it don't really have any idea what's going on if you cut stuff out. So that's just kind of the way that that the games on that channel work, and that's fine, and I'm totally okay with it. But yeah, this is going to cut into my my video creation time potentially. Obviously, it has also cut into my stream time. I'm looking forward to this whole thing being done. October has been like a ridiculous month for me, because I had the wedding that I went up to Wisconsin for right at the beginning of the month. And that was because it's Wisconsin and it's like a 10-hour drive. That was, and I had a little bit of, I had like one military thing to do. I had to go turn in all of my stuff that the Army has given me. All the body armor and the helmet and the rucksack and the sleeping bags and the, 20,000 different types of uniform that I never wore once over the course of my, all that. You accumulate a lot of stuff over a 10-year career, or an 11-year career in my case. It'll be 11 when I finally get out. But anyway, so I turned all that in, but that ended up being like a 5 or 6 day trip because of the distance. As I said, it's like a 10-hour drive, and it was quite a trek. And then the wedding, we went up for the wedding. We were at the wedding. We, of course, went to the wedding reception afterwards. And that ended up being a 5-day trip altogether. 1 day to drive up, the day to actually turn in all my stuff and do whatever military stuff I had to do. Then I had to drive to the hotel, and then there was the wedding. Yeah, anyway, long story short, 5-day trip for the wedding at the very beginning of the month. Then I got back from the wedding, and I immediately dived into this military murder case. So yeah, it's been a crazy month. I haven't had nearly as much time to do YouTube as I would have liked. And as a result, it has cut into my stream time. So for those of you who do follow me on Twitch and enjoy the live streams, don't worry, they'll be back soon enough. As soon as I'm done with this military stuff and I can finally get back to like a more regular YouTube schedule, which I am very much looking forward to, streams will resume as normal. Right now I can either stream or I can do YouTube, one or the other, and I gotta prioritize YouTube over streaming, because that's the way. I mean, I've always prioritized YouTube over streaming. That's just kind of how it's always been. I enjoy YouTube very much, and I think overall YouTube is a better platform for me. I very much like streaming, don't get me wrong. I think it's wonderful, but given the choice between the two, YouTube is where I reach more people, I guess would be the best way to say it. Like, I prioritize my YouTube audience over my Twitch audience because my YouTube audience is frankly a lot bigger. Whoa. And I don't think there are that many people who, wow, where did you guys all come from? Run. Okay, things are exploding. I don't think there are that many people who watch me on Twitch who don't watch me on YouTube. I think the vast majority of people who are interested in my content are interested in either just my YouTube content or my YouTube content and my Twitch content. I don't think there's a whole lot of people who are only interested in one. I think that's pretty rare. But anyway, long story short, video content kind of on the back burner right now while I work on this big important thing that I'm working on. I'm looking forward to it being done in about a week, maybe a week. I'm going to say like a week and a half. It's probably about how long it'll be. And then after that, I'll finally be able to get back to my normal life and back to creating content as I want to, and not trying to record all of my videos on weekends. And then, trying to get them out over the course of the week. 4 videos a day, trying to record those 4 videos a day for an entire week over the course of like 2 days is just very, yeah, I'm getting tired. Let's put it that way. It's been a very long day of recording already. I think I've recorded 9 or 10 videos today, something like that. So I've recorded like 2 days worth of videos, basically. But anyway, I'm going to go put all this stuff away, and then we'll get to some other stuff. Okay, I am back, and I know I said this wasn't going to be a Talky episode, But I was looking through the comments on the last video, and this was just kind of too perfect, and it ties in kind of a little bit to what we were talking about before, so this is going to be a Talky episode. So, comment of the day. Fiaz says, "Hello, Wells. You always say that you need a certain character to be able to be in the military. What do you mean by this? Can you expand a bit on the topic?" And that was from Fiaz. And that is something that I've talked about on several occasions. I've said something to the effect of, like, the military isn't for everyone. You need, like, a certain personality type or a certain character, you know, to enjoy it and to be successful and stuff like that. And I totally stand by that statement. So, essentially, the military is a work environment, and it's an environment unlike anything else. Like, it's very unique and it's very different. We're just going to go back to mining because we found that awesome cave wave down here that I would like to check out in a little bit more detail. But anyway, it's a environment unlike any other, and it's an environment with a very different set of rules than any other, and it's an environment that puts you into situations unlike any other. And it's not an environment that everyone can do, just from, like, a psychological standpoint. Like, some people handle stress better than others. I'll use myself as an example. As I was talking about earlier in this video, I'm like most in my element when I'm working in a very high stress, high tempo environment, and there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a ton of things going on, and there's, like, you know, different deadlines, and everything needs to happen at once. Like, that's when I am most in my element. Then, on the other hand, you have my wife, and my wife does not deal with stress well at all. She is the type of person that kind of catastrophizes. That is to say, she's the type of person where she, like, do you remember those commercials? They were like DirecTV commercials from a while back, where it would be like, you know, first you go to the grocery store, and then, you know, unfortunately, as you're at the grocery store, you can't buy the can of beans, so then you buy a different can instead, and then that can turns out to be toxic and poison, and then you get cancer. Don't go to the grocery store and get cancer. It's like this whole idea that, like, one bad thing leads to another bad thing, and then another bad thing, and everything goes horribly wrong. My wife is the type of person who sees the world through those eyes, right? She thinks of, like, the worst possible thing that could happen, and she freaks out. I have been recording for too long today. My voice is almost gone. Allow me to take a drink of my delicious, cold, watery beverage. Okay. Much better. Anyway, as I was saying, some people just don't deal with stress very well, you know, or if something very small and relatively insignificant in the grand scheme of things happens to my wife, you know, like she, I don't know, misplaces her cell phone or something like that. You know, she will, it drives her off the wall. She just goes, it drives her nuts. She can't deal with it, right? Like, that's just the way she is. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. That's just how she handles stress. And I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum, where I think I kind of live my life by the rule, you know, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't worry about it for more than 5 minutes. If it's something that's beyond your control, oh, this is bad. Okay, this is very bad. Okay, so the good news is that we lived. The bad news is that there's a lot of nasty things directly above us. Anyway, you know what? Let's just do one of these. We can take these guys. Hi. Get dead. Okay. We've done it. Whew. Anyway, yeah, she is the opposite. She freaks out about little things. And the thing with the military is, if you're not someone who handles stress well, then the military is going to be an environment that is going to be an incredible challenge for you, because the military environment is very stressful. Like, it's straight up, there's always a million things going on. You're constantly living with the idea that at any time you could get a phone call and be told that you're deploying, and that's always constantly kind of hanging over your head. You could be transferred or moved, or there's just so many potential things that could happen to you that are completely beyond your control at any time. And if you're not the type of person who can deal with that, then the military might not be for you. So that's one character trait, is the ability to really deal with stress well. And not everyone has that ability. Some people do, some people don't. And that's not to say that people who are unable to handle stress well are, lesser people or anything like that. It's just a personality trait. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Some people are great at dealing with stress. Some people are not. Some people are good at, being, some people are good in social settings. Some people aren't. We all have strengths and weaknesses. There's nothing wrong with that. But if one of your weaknesses is dealing with stress, the military probably is not the right personality type you probably don't have the personality type that lends itself to being in the military. Likewise, the military, or at least the United States military, I don't know how it is in other countries because I've never served in other countries' militaries, but in the United States military, the military actually encourages kind of critical thinking, and although it certainly, you have to follow orders and take orders from people, it also encourages you to be a leader and take charge, and they teach people over time. I should really follow my own advice and put torches where I always put torches on the right-hand side, so that I can find my way back out. But the military kind of pushes everyone into leadership roles over time if you do it long enough. And not everyone likes being a leader. Some people just want to follow, and that's totally okay as well. But you have to be able to kind of take charge of a situation. You have to be comfortable taking charge of a situation and being in charge of people. And to be honest, in the military, you have to have the ability to put your foot down and say, no, this is how it's going to be. And not everyone has that ability. Some people are very non-confrontational and can't have a conversation with a coworker or a friend or something like that where you kind of lay it out as to how it's going to be. Some people, my wife's sister, for example, is an entrepreneur. She owns her own business, but she really just she's too nice for her own good, if that makes sense. She's the type of person that really has difficulty saying no to people, or telling people that they're not doing their job well, or things like that. And that's not something that works in the military. In the military, you have to be able to put your foot down and be very assertive and take charge of a situation and all that kind of stuff. So, when I say some personality types don't really lend themselves to the military, if you're not the type of person who can be assertive, or who's comfortable telling other people what to do, eventually, and to some extent, it is certainly a learned skill. I'm definitely far more assertive now than I was when I joined in 2007. But at the same time, you need to have, I hate to say you need to have a backbone, because that's a horrible way to say it. It makes it sound like I'm thinking negatively of people who don't have that ability. But you need the ability, you have to be able to kind of be mean sometimes, if I'm being entirely honest. You have to have the ability to tell people that they're doing a terrible job. And you need to be able to tell people that they're wrong, and that they're doing things wrong, and that they need to get their act together. That's something that I've had to do on many occasions, and it just kind of comes with the territory. You need to be able to follow orders on the opposite side of the spectrum. You need to be able to tolerate doing things that you don't want to do. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, you know what I would love to do? I would love to clean bathrooms all day. That would be awesome. I don't think that's something that most people would enjoy, but guess what? That's something that you will do. If you ever join the military, you will clean things that you don't want to clean, and you will do stupid, menial things that were not part of your job description. You will mow lawns, you will sweep floors, you will mop floors, you will clean windows, you will do all of these stupid things. And guess what? That's part of your job. Because when you join the military, the government essentially owns you and can tell you to do whatever they want you to do. And and often it's things that you will do and go, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? This is a waste of my time. Why am I doing this stupid thing? And that's a common occurrence. You will often do stupid things that just seem pointless and dumb. And some people can't deal with that either. You know, if some people are the type where if they're in a job where they're like, this is the dumbest thing ever, they have to, you know, they're the type of person who has to speak up about it and tell their boss, this is the dumbest thing ever. If you do that in the military, it's going to be a bad day. You can't go to your commander and be like, sir, this is stupid and I refuse to do it. It doesn't work that way. So I guess when I say you need a certain personality type to be in the military, I mean that it's a certain type of person that lends itself to the military lifestyle. There's a personality test. It's not necessarily there's a test called the Myers-Briggs test, and it's I forget. I've heard mixed reports on how accurate it actually is, but I think it serves as a good baseline to kind of give you a general idea of overarching personality types. You know, take it with a grain of salt because it's basically a survey that you take, and then you answer questions, and the way you answer them, you know, leads into certain things. But I don't remember the exact personality types, but we actually did some studies and things in the military. The two of the most uncommon personality types in the general population are the most common types in the military. So it's an interesting thing. I forget which personality types they were, but it's an interesting kind of note. You know, certain people are drawn to that lifestyle. Some people, you know, love the idea of traveling the world and, you know, doing, you know, packing up every couple years. You pack up, you move far away to somewhere completely new. You know, that really appeals to some people. To some people, that really doesn't appeal to them at all. You know, some people love the idea of doing something different all the time, or of, you know, working in a high stress but very fulfilling work environment. Some people don't want to do that. Some people just want their normal, you know, 9 to 5. You have the same schedule. You show up every day. You do the same thing. You go home to your family, and, you know, that's it. And some people prefer that. Some people prefer like a very kind of steady, you know, consistent daily life. And the military is not that. The military has a tendency to really kind of take over every aspect of your life because it's what you end up prioritizing. Like, even though you're not necessarily working in the military 24/7, 365, you are a member of the military 24/7, 365, if that makes sense. Like, you are always in a position where the Army could call you and say, you have to do this. You have to deploy. You have to come in today because we have to, you know, do a big inventory of all of our equipment or whatever it may be. And unlike the civilian world, you can't say no in the military. You can't tell someone who is in charge of you, no, I'm not doing that. I mean, you could, but it's going to be bad. Then you'll probably see me in the courtroom. But it's just one of those things. So you lose a lot of your freedoms, but at the same time, it's very rewarding. It's very stressful, but it's very fulfilling. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. But I definitely stand by my statement that the military is not for everybody, and that some people just can't do it. It's just not for them. If you're not the type of person who can handle stress, if you're not the type of person who can handle authority, if you're not the type of person who can be an authority, you know, maybe the military lifestyle just isn't for you, and that's okay. It's not meant to be for everybody. It's a very specific lifestyle. It's a very specific skill set. It's a very specific many different things, and I would not recommend it for everybody, but as I said in the Hermitcraft episode when I was discussing my military background, it was actually titled My Military Background. It came out not that long ago, if you want to go find it, where I went into kind of what I've done in the military and what I do in the military and all that kind of stuff in more detail. I will never look back on my decision to join the military and say, that was a bad idea. I mean, honestly, the military very much made me into the person and the man that I am today. I would be an extremely different person if I had never joined. I am certainly a lot more confident now than I was back then when I joined. And part of that's, just growing up. Like, I joined when I was 17 years old. I think it makes sense that I would be a little bit more confident now that I'm an adult and a married man, as opposed to, a weird, nerdy teenager, which I was. I was totally a nerdy, kid. It was what it is. I was a band geek. I was a choir geek. I was in theater. I was whatever. I enjoyed video games, of course. And it is what it is. I was kind of I don't want to say I was socially awkward, but I was a little socially awkward when I was growing up. It is what it is. You just kind of learn over time. I think that's just part of becoming an adult is learning to deal with some of those things. But I would definitely be a different person if it weren't for the military and for joining the military. I would certainly be less confident than I am now, at least to some degree. I absolutely now consider myself someone who is a leader. And I don't know if that would have been the case if I had chosen a different career path. There's a lot of skills and not just skills in like a technical sense, right? Like, I know how to do this with this piece of equipment. And I'm not talking that. I'm talking about like life skills, social skills, mental skills, just the personality driven stuff, being a leader and dealing with stress and all these different things. I would be very different if I had never joined. And I think, although it is not for everyone and that I don't think everyone should join, I think that if you are the personality type, if you are the type of person where the idea of joining the military truly appeals to you, it is something that, that should be considered. I think it's certainly an experience that I've had. I mean, I've re-signed up twice. My initial contract was for 6 years, and by the time I get out, I'm going to be at 11. They suckered me back into joining 2 more times after the initial one. So that says something about, my feelings regarding the military. I wouldn't have stuck around after my initial 6-year term if I didn't find it at least fulfilling to some extent. So, but this has been a lot of talking. I know I didn't intend it to be a talky episode originally, but I saw that comment and I was just like, this is too perfect. It ties in so well, and you know what? Why not? We'll make it a talky episode. So, next episode, we'll get back to doing some actual stuff. But guys, that is going to do it for today. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Links in the description below, so check that out as well. Otherwise, my friends, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.